how well recovered do I feel? I give myself that time. So about 10 to 15 minutes of just breath work. Just sit and watch the body. It's just the breathing. See how it feels. And sometimes I ask that question. Okay, I would like to go out and just do a 10K or a 1 hour effort. Okay. So if I get that sign that, yeah, let's go, I always go ahead and do it. Sometimes it's like maybe not. I still head out. I tell myself I'm going to take it by a few minutes. I'll do 15 minutes of effort or 20 minutes and then we'll see how it goes. Most times it feels fine after that.
Yeah.
So you're able to continue further. But if it is not, then nothing wrong at all. Most times we try too hard. Trying to fit a square peg into a round hole itself. All of us trying to do that. Somebody else is able to do it. Why am I not able to? We always keep comparing that. It can be peers, it can be friends, it can be family.
I am Venki, a working professional in IT as well as an amateur masters athlete and a coach for endurance sports. You are listening to the Working Athlete podcast. Here, I talk to working athletes from all walks of life and experts from various sports to provide you with inspiration, training tips, and lifestyle advice. If this is something that interests you, I have a small request from you. Please subscribe to the channel on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. You can also let me know what you like and what you would like to listen to more of by commenting in the comment section on YouTube. I promise to do my best to improve with each episode and bring you the best content that helps you and me get better each day. In this episode, I talked to Ashwini Ganapathi Bhat. Ashwini is an ultra trail runner who represented India at the South Asian Trail Championships earlier this year. She was also part of the Indian squad for 24-hour ultra running championships some time back. Ashwini was on this podcast a couple of years ago where she shared how she got into running and ultra running. That was in episode number 90. If you have not listened to it, I would recommend listening to it as well after this. In this episode, Ashwini talks about her journey of dealing with grief, taking a break from running to heal, falling in love with running all over again, and working towards regaining strength and fitness both physically and mentally. She is always candid and open about her struggles in the process of whatever she is achieving in the nascent landscape of the Indian trail running. It was great to have her back and sharing her insights with us. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. This episode is brought to you by The Bike Affair. If you are in search of a one-stop destination that caters to all your cycling needs, our today's sponsor, The Bike Affair, is the perfect place to check out. I have known the founders of The Bike Affair, Krish and Gokul, personally for nearly 15 years now. In fact, my first century ride was with Krish back in 2008. They are both exceptional human beings and entrepreneurs that believe in providing exceptional service to their customers. And it shows. With over 14 years of experience, the Bike Affair has established itself as a trusted source offering honest advice and exceptional service. They are offering a special treat for the listeners of this podcast. You can enjoy a 10% discount on your first order by using the code BikeyVenki on their website. So if you are in Hyderabad, visit their store in Kondapur, or if you are anywhere else in India, shop online by using the link thebikeaffair.com. I will leave the link in the show notes. Now, enjoy the podcast.
Yeah.
Hi, Ashwini. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you so much. If I have to say, like such in nervous 90s to over 200s now. So congratulations to you for keeping this going with such discipline and passion. I really value that kind of dedication that anyone can show. So happy to be back.
Thank you. Yeah. So you talking about your episode being 90th, and now we are, well over 200. So it's been a journey, and I love talking to
having these conversations, because that gives a different kind of high, right? So
Yeah.
it's always that is what keeps me going. I haven't missed a week of since I started. So
Amazing. I wish you can continue this longer and we get to have more people who can share their stories. So
yeah,
very glad to be here.
that's a good. All right. So I mean, lots of things happened in our lives after, since we met, and more so in your journey. So let's start. It's, I think when we met, uh, you it was a difficult time at that time when your mom was going through uh, you know terminal illness, and it's been a hard uh, few months before we met, and even more so after, I think. So let's what was that time like for you to where did running come into the picture, and how did it go there?
Yeah, I think we met sometime in June,
Right.
and that's when her chemo had just finished, and we were trying to see what more can be done. But 3 months after we lost her, so it was a very hard time. Losing a parent is never easy,
I know.
and she was just 60.
Yeah.
So it took a huge toll on me. We're always told you're very strong. Everyone keeps saying that through whatever you do in life, your choices and the kind of, it can be a passion, it can be the job you do. And you also assume or put on that kind of shield in front of everyone. And you want to show that, yeah, I'm strong. It might be the case, it comes in handy most of the times. But when something so emotional happens, it can just stir you up and completely put you out of place.
Right.
So that happened to me. Losing her was very hard. I have a very complicated relationship with my parents with a huge background. Let me not get into all that gory details, but seeing such an uncertainty was kind of eye opening, deeply saddening, and also it gave me a new perspective to life, if I can say. It might sound like a cliche, but it made me realize that we always tend to think that, oh, I'll do something tomorrow, or we're not in touch with somebody. Like friends, we were really close, they move out of country or something, and we're not in touch. We remember them, and then we say, oh, I'll call after a week. They might be busy, life is happening. But my mom's episode really shook me up and woke me up to say that do things when you have to. Don't push it to the next day or think some other time. I mean, I've also heard this from you where you've had a couple of incidents of losing your close ones, your friends. So it's never easy. But we have to learn, and we have to learn from that experience and keep going, because life is always moving.
Yeah.
Even if we pause, even if something happens and then we say, okay, I need time, I just have to really get out of this. But day by day, life is going on. So I think I took a break for about 2 months. And then this shield of strong women thing told me that, no, you have to get back. It's time to get back to running, because I'd been running for 8 years by then. And I felt that, running is that distraction. Maybe it will help me overcome all that emotion.
Yeah.
Got back to running. But believe it or not, it was not helping. It was very forced. I was telling myself, just get out every day, whatever you can do, even if it is walks, even if it is jogs. But with such a heavy heart, it was very hard for me to do. But I pushed through. I told myself, no, this phase will pass. This is what my mom would want me to do. That is the kind of, I wouldn't say a lie, but an assumption I had in my own head that my mom is proud of what I do. So she's watching over me, and this is what she would want me to do and move on in life. So get back to running. So August is when we lost her 2 years ago, and 3-4 months later, I signed up for an event. I started training about a month and a half, and then I said, let me just go. No expectations of even finishing. I said, let me just toe the line. That's it. And then we'll see.
Yeah.
It was a huge struggle. Throughout the run itself, I don't know, I was just had tears in my eyes. I was crying without reason. And her memories kept coming back and all of that. So I think I was trying too hard that whole phase for about 3 to 4 months, pushing myself to get back to running. And then I realized, no, that's not the way it should be. Because, my body started rebelling. I developed a few gut issues, and a lot of things happened. And then I took a complete break for about 2.5, 3 months. Went the Ayurveda way, did some panchakarma, took some time off, read quite a few books, and kind of switched myself off from the distractions that I had created around me to keep myself busy. We've all been conditioned from our childhood that you have to be doing something. If you're idle, culturally, we are not a society where we appreciate somebody not doing something.
Yeah.
You finish your studies and then you're into job and then settle down into a house, or there's a cycle. There is always running. That clock is always running.
True.
Right? So it took some time for me to understand that it's okay to not be doing anything. It's okay to not do events. Even on social media or friends somewhere I would meet, they would say, which event are you running next? What are you doing? I'm like, I'm not running. So it was very hard for them to believe it. That immediate question would be, are you injured? I'm like, maybe I'm injured emotionally.
Yeah.
Right? So
That is also important, right?
correct.
Yeah.
So I think we don't acknowledge it as much. At least I was not until that point. And I felt that just get back to running. Do things, be busy. Everything will be okay. But then things started changing. I started enjoying my runs much more. I was appreciative of every single opportunity that I got. My body was supporting. My mind was calm. All of that really helped. So then I completely switched from road and stadium runs that I was doing until that point. I'd done the championship. My mom was in the hospital. I was representing India, and it was the hardest ever run that I have done.
The 24-hour stadium
Yeah.
run. Yeah, the championships.
I'm part of the team, and my mom was hospitalized. All that was happening, but she said, no, I would want to see you on TV. There was coverage. It was at Kantirava Stadium. So from the hospital bed, she saw me run wearing the India tricolor. Somehow managed to do that. So when I look back, outdoor really helped me. So that's how I got into trail running. Did quite a few events. But the first 2 events that I did, one in May of 2023 and one more, I think, in July 2023, both were DNFs. I couldn't finish them. Although I realized that, I've taken a break, 2.5 months, but then you still have that kind of runner brain, right? You're still not ready. And they were very hard challenges. I put myself into them saying 64-kilometer trail. How hard can it be? And I just went there, finished 50 kilometers, and then I realized, oh no, my body is not supporting. So I just called it a day. And the same episode repeated for another trail run near Pune. But they really helped me understand I feel so alive in nature.
Right.
And they were able to kind of heal me from whatever worries that were running in my head. And then I have not looked back. From 23 July onwards, I've been doing only trail events, going outdoor, lot of hikes around Bangalore, whatever was there. Converted those hikes into training for running itself. And yeah, I've been very happy, very content. If I have to say, never been better. So that's how
Excellent.
it's
Excellent.
been.
Yeah, that is great to hear. At least, that it can, if you either positive cycle or negative cycle, right? We can get into a downward spiral and we might not get out of it. That is a real possibility, right? So for you to, get out of that difficult phase and find something, a second wind, if you will,
Yeah.
and going ahead and finding a new passion is really good to hear. So how was it when you took that break from running and again started looking at trails and stuff, right? You signed up for event, your first trail event, 64-kilometer run. What was the preparation like? Or I remember seeing some walk runs and all that, right? So how was the preparation like towards that?
I was carrying about 8 kgs of additional weight from about 8 months of going through all this emotional thing. And also physically, I was not that active. That was there. But your mind is always fighting and telling you that, no, you can, come on, you can do it. So preparation was, I went easy. I didn't think that I have to do kind of mileages that I used to do earlier. So just as a restart, I told myself that imagine you've just started running. Just as a beginner, how I began in 2014 with my first 10K, what I prepared for as a novice. So that's how I began. So more time on foot rather than thinking about, I have to do 15 kilometers in certain time or weekly mileage of say 40 kilometers or 50 kilometers. So it was about 1.5 months. So about 45 days is when, before that is when I signed up for it. Pretty much that's it. So that 64-kilometer event in November at Erkard, it was a hill run. It was a road. It was not trail. That was the same year. And I realized, our mind remembers a lot. You've done certain efforts previously. You know you can do it. So your mind can convince your body that it is possible.
Right.
Even if your body is not capable, it has gone into a little more kind of
Rest mode.
and it's saying, I'm not able to, but your mind can convince. But I think it also takes a little bit of mental training for you to say, I'm going to look at it from a different perspective rather than looking at it as, I have to do this event. I'm going to look at it as a way for me to come back. I don't like that term come back as such because I think we use it very lightly, but more so for come back to life. Rather than come back to an event, it was more about come back to life for me. Because, running has always been that kind of platform for me to go back. Anytime something is not okay with life, running has been that solace. I always go to running. So I felt, okay, let me try. So with training itself, as I said, just a lot of time on foot. So I would put myself a target, say that 3 hours. Irrespective of how much I'm going to run in it, even if I walk, it's okay. I have to complete 3 hours of effort. Many days it used to be very hard. I would feel like giving up within 1 hour or even like 45 minutes. Sometimes I have done that, and it's okay. We always go by this rule that if you give up, you're mentally weak, which isn't the case. If you have been able to identify what is an excuse and what is something that is coming from the body, excuse is from the mind, while something that is coming from the body is a sign and a signal saying that, boss, it's not happening today. So I listen to my body that way. But, pushing is okay. That has to happen through the mind. But when the body says no, I ardently listen and say, okay, fine, stop.
What are the signs to kind of identify whether it is the
Mind or the
mind or the body?
So when you wake up each day, how fresh you feel with sleep. Even if I've had 5 hours, some days I feel like amazing. You wake up and you're like, bring it on. I'm going to take on the day kind of a feeling. But some days, even if you've slept for 10 hours, maybe you don't feel that good. And those are the days that if you push yourself in training, you might not get the real benefits. Because psychologically, or rather physiologically, your body might not be in the mode of accepting the benefits. So that is one thing, sleep and how fresh I feel, and fatigue. So if I've trained the previous day or a couple of days prior, how well recovered do I feel? So I give myself that time. So about 10 to 15 minutes of just breath work. Just sit and watch the body. It's just the breathing. See how it feels. And sometimes I ask that question. Okay, I would like to go out and just do a 10K or a 1 hour effort. Okay. So if I get that sign that, yeah, let's go, I always go ahead and do it. Sometimes it's like maybe not. I still head out. I tell myself I'm going to take it by a few minutes. I'll do 15 minutes of effort or 20 minutes, and then we'll see how it goes. Most times it feels fine after that.
Yeah.
So you're able to continue further. But if it is not, then nothing wrong at all.
Turn back and
Just
get
come back. Yeah, I walk for half an hour and then come back home. That's it. So, if you keep trying too hard, I learned it the hard way. Most times we try too hard, like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole itself. All of us trying to do that. Somebody else is able to do it. Why am I not able to?
Yep.
We always keep comparing that. It can be peers, it can be friends, it can be family. You've set a goal. Let's say with your cycling itself, you have your tour of Nilgiris or whichever you want to target, and you know that this is the kind of mileage I need to be able to put regularly for me to cycle strong there. You have whatever goals you have. It might be just to finish for some, it might be certain time goals, it might be segments for some. It's very different. When goals are so different, how can the approach be the same?
Yeah.
It can't be, right? Also, life circumstances are very different.
Right.
So I've become very, I know the limitations that I have with my body. And I feel that that's a great power to have, because knowing your limitations is the first step for you to work on your strengths. We always tend to believe that we don't like using the term limitations, I feel. We like saying weakness. Oh, it's my weakness. I can't really do anything about it. Like, for example, I always used to say, oh, uphills are my weakness. I'm so pathetic at it. I really struggle. And I never used to put any effort into improving that. Downhills, I'm very good. I'm strong. I would keep doing that over and over. But you're using the same kind of muscles. The benefit stops after a point, right? You plateau. Like it can be with strength training as well. You're able to deadlift certain weight for 2 months, 3 months. You keep progressing and then you hit a plateau. So it's the same with any kind of approach with goals. So knowing your limitations, I feel, is a big, big plus. And through the years, I think I've come to a point where I know what are my limitations. So even if, people hype you up sometimes when you're not really ready for certain kind of challenges or adventures or any event, let's say, you signed up for an event, you've been training, then suddenly something happens in life. It can be emotional stuff. It can be close to one passing away. It can be your own health. It can be work pressure. A lot of things have changed. But if we are not able to shift that goal into something more meaningful and sustainable, we are going in for a lot of issues into life, right? So I was able to do that.
Right.
And when I did those 2 events and DNFs happened, that really didn't impact me that much.
That was, my next question. Like, what was it? I know how difficult or easy was it to kind of say, I'm not able to finish, right? Because as someone who is used to doing well in the events, before,
Yeah.
right? It is not quite that easy, right? So how was it for you to say, take that call and move on?
I've never been someone who's fixated on finish times. It has always been about finish lines for me, not finish times. So it wasn't that hard, but it's always, we are very self critical. We're always wanting to improve. You want to make progress, you want to feel good.
Right. That finish line also was not happening, right?
Correct.
That's yeah.
Yes. But after that long break of 8 months, and then I tried to get back, and 2 months of complete pause, all of this happening, I realized that outcomes are not so important, irrespective of whether it's a successful outcome or not. You never know. So that's when I started enjoying the process of getting to that start line.
Beautiful. Yeah. So the process is where we spend a ton of time, right?
Exactly.
The race might last just a few hours, but the process of training or preparation for it lasts days, months, and years, right? So that is what is really important to kind of enjoy.
Yes.
If we are saying that I will be happy if I cross that finish line, or if I do this event in so much time,
Correct.
that is not the real thing, right? That is going to maybe happen or may not happen. Even if it happens, it will last for whatever tiny amount of time.
Yeah.
But if you are in the process, you enjoy the process, you are going to be happy each day.
Correct.
Right? So that is beautiful
It's
to
the
hear.
same thing as any athlete of any sport. If you see, they even have a term like Olympic depression. After athletes have trained for like 4 years
Yeah.
for one day. Running is a longer duration sport. You have powerlifting, like 5 seconds, 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Their whole 4 years of work is going to be decided within that short span.
Yeah, even if it is a sprint, track and field
Yeah,
thing, it's
within
like
15 seconds.
yeah.
Right? So when you put all your eggs into one basket and you're always thinking everything is going to be fine, I am going to be a champion, I'm going to win. Even if you finish second, you're not going to be happy. Right? I mean, that's human nature.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's somebody, but it's all of us who go through that.
Yeah.
But if you say, irrespective of what happens, I will still go through this process. I have noticed earlier, even before, I wouldn't say enlightenment, but yeah, even before I realized that, life can be looked at from this angle as well. As soon as an event is over, friends meet at the finish line, we all chat up. Hey, how did your event go? What was your time? And all this discussion is happening. More than 70% of the time, the next question is, which is your next event?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's a marathon you've just run, let's say from 3 hours to 4 hours, 5 hours, that whole duration you've done it. And you train for 8 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever duration, right? We forget all of that. We are appreciative of it for just a few minutes, and immediately we are chasing another goal.
Maybe seconds.
Yeah. So that always used to put me into a thought process. I'm like, I don't know what event I'm going to do next. It's good to be well planned, like have certain events picked for a year. I'm doing 3 events or 4 events. So, I do this event and then 3 months later I'm doing something. I'm not questioning that. All I'm saying is, I think we don't enjoy the moments we are living in, but we're always chasing something which is going to come in the future. So past is gone, present also we're not able to enjoy. We're always thinking, if this happens, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
So those two outcomes of DNFs, made me realize, yeah, work is needed for you to get to the finish line in a certain way.
Hmm.
You know, in India, even trail runs, marathons don't have particular cutoff times. Maybe the road events like TMM, which is the biggest marathon in our country at Mumbai, has 6.5 hours as a cutoff.
Right.
They won't take you out of the course because you're on road. Only thing is, 8 stations would be gone. You're just doing it on your own and get to the finish line, and there's no medal for you. But on trail, there are cutoffs. There are intermediate cutoffs. Even if you're doing a 50K event, there would probably be a cutoff at, say, 25 or 20 kilometer. And if you don't cross it within a certain time, then the organizers have the right to take you out of the course because it's a security, safety issue for them.
Right.
They need to keep you safe. So that's a thing. But trail running, ultra running is still upcoming in our country. It's not a sport which is well established.
Yeah.
Not many people know about it.
True.
When you say trail running, they're like, what? Trial running? Most of them. I mean, you go to Decathlon, and when I want to purchase a shoe, when I say trail running, they're like, trial running shoes, madam, there. So people don't even know that there is a sport called trail running. So that's where we are at. So lenient cutoffs are still prevalent. Most events have pretty lenient cutoffs. So finishing is not really a trouble. If you're able to put some amount of training and your goal is just to finish, I want to experience, like events like SRT, which is Sinagat Rajgarh Torna. That's an ultra which happens in Pune across these 3 forts. It's a 53 kilometer run.
Right.
And it's a hiking route, which they said, let's do a run there and have, I think, 12 hours or 14 hours of cutoff. When you go to such events, you wouldn't be able to do it without support, right? There are 8 stations for you in between.
Right.
So for somebody who's a hiker, they would say, I just put in little bit of work. I jog some sections. Even if I can't run a 5K in 40 minutes, it's okay. I'll still be able to finish that kind of event. So it is easy for somebody to chase just finishes, irrespective of what time, just within cutoff. I volunteer for this event called Malnad Ultra, which happens in Chikmagalur in Coffee Estates. And in 2022, I very clearly remember there was a runner in the 30K category who finished on the dot. Like the countdown had begun, 10, 9, 8, and then he comes and finishes exactly when we just say 1.
Yeah.
He crossed that line.
Wow.
So there are, we have that spectrum of runners. There are people who are ardently disciplined, who are putting in all the work, every single workout, intervals, tempos, you name it, everything is happening to the T. And then you have the in-between, like I would say, maybe my husband would laugh when he listens to this, intermediate kind of runners who are more casual, who say, I'll put in some training. Okay, I sign up for an event, maybe 1 or 2 events a year. I'll train for 2 months, do the event, and then 6 months I'm going to just relax. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
And then there are people who are a little more casual, who say that, I walk regularly, I jog once or twice a month, I'll be able to do an event. So irrespective of, even if I don't finish in a certain time, it's okay. Even if I don't get a medal, it's okay. So there are multiple categories.
Spectrum of, yeah.
Yeah. And the way we look at a sport also can be very varied. So coming back to the question itself, outcome-driven feeling is, I feel it's very bound. We are always thinking about certain times, certain finishes, or a checkbox of I've done all these events. Oh, done. Now, which are the new ones I want to do? Or is it only for the experience that I'm doing? So since those 2 DNFs, a lot of thought went into it. Even when I chose to call it a day, I finished 50 kilometers. We had 1 more trail to cover. And we had, I think, 1.5 hours left for 14 kilometers, but my body was retaliating so much. Pain everywhere. I'd not trained that much. And I've just gone into this with a little arrogant approach that I have done it in the past, I can do it, kind of a thing. But I said, let me look at it from a long-term perspective instead of just thinking that I have to finish.
Right.
Unfortunately, most of us are falling into that bucket. Bragging rights and the kind of appreciation we get for bravery and courage is much more now. But if it is going to impact you health wise, and you are not able to walk for 2 weeks or 3 weeks after an event because you were little more immature in how you pushed your body, that's something that needs to be reevaluated in my dictionary.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
So I did an event yesterday at Javadu, which was a CTC event, and here I am today. I woke up today morning and did a short run, and I feel happy that your body is able to support that much and you're able to get back to your normal day. Right? But it could be that somebody who is very ardent about times might say, oh, you didn't push long, too hard.
Yeah.
You were too easy. You're able to walk around easily, which means there was still a lot left in the tank. Right? It's infinite the way anyone can interpret a certain way you handle a situation. So there's no right or wrong. It's what works for you and keeps you healthy.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So from then on, right? That's a good way to look at it. And from then on, how did it progress? Like you came out of these two DNFs, and did it like result in more work? Because you've gone places from then on, right? You have done what is that, Southeast Asian Championships and all that in trails, and you represented India and all that. So how did that progression take place?
With trail running, the biggest thing is practice makes perfect. Unlike road, where you can just go and run on the roads. But the more time you spend on the trail, the more confidence we build. So it can be technical terrain. So when we say technical, it's rocky kind of. It can be boulders, it can be small stones in downhills or uphill sections. So it doesn't really allow for a rhythm to form. You will have to think on your feet, and your body will have to really put every single focus on the trail for you to not really fall or do it in a good time.
Right.
So I told myself after those two, specifically after that Pune event, where I finished that event. First one, I stopped at 50, the 64 event, 64 kilometer Nainital run. And 2.5 months later, when I signed up for this one at Pune, I finished that event, I think 3.5 hours after the cutoff time. We were out on the trail, and we met the marshals at one point. We had, I think, 7 kilometers. I had another friend as well along with me. And they said, you'll stop here, wait for 1.5 hours. We'll get a truck to pick you up and transport you back to the finish line. The 75 and 100 kilometer category was still ongoing. There were a few runners still on course. And about 4 75 kilometer runners came by, and they were finishing their 75 kilometer run. Who just started, I think, half an hour before us. So then we said, no, we know the course. We know how to go back. It was dark already. So would you allow us to just go to the finish line? Anyway, they're going. So we'll follow along. We might not be able to keep pace with them, but we will go. So they said, okay. So we finished that event much beyond the cutoff time itself.
Right.
So that's the night I vowed to myself that I will put in the work before I sign up for my next event. I'm not going to be hasty and have this ego that, oh, I've done these things in the past, so it will happen. I will have to be a little more humble in my approach of how I choose events, what kind of training needs to be done for that event. So I went back to the drawing board and said, okay, so these are the areas that I need help with. With that event itself, I just wrote down, this is where I struggled. So this is where I need to work on. And I took 3 months of time. Nandi Hills, Skandagiri, all these became my training grounds. I would take a bus from home, go somewhere and then change a bus, or take a train, go to Nandi, train solo there. do 4 or 5 loops of Nandi stairs, come back home. So that became my bread and butter.
What were those, what were those on that list of, things to work on that were there?
So when things get hard, our mind immediately jumps in and says, oh, slow down. Your breathing is getting heavy. Slow down. Don't push yourself. So when you know that it's not the body but the mind, you know that you have to go back and work on mental training. So a couple of things which I had made a note was uphills, I was terrible. Not even bad, terrible. Like people would cross me on uphills, like some 10-15 people would cross me on a small uphill. I was so slow. And maybe I think I was lacking in confidence on the trail itself. I hadn't done much trail running. Back in 2019, I'd done a couple of trail runs. After that, I completely switched over to road and stadium. So I told myself, yeah, I need to gain that confidence that irrespective of whether it's an uphill, downhill, whatever, I should be able to keep a certain pace and not feel demotivated when people start passing me. So when you see one person going, you're like, okay, it's just one. And then that continues and then 10 people are passing you and you're like still struggling. So those were a couple of things which I'd made a note. And also was food, how I was fueling during the run. I had never really thought about how much important fueling is because you have to carry it yourself. In trail running, we have 8 stations quite apart. Unlike like track or even road, where it's 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers, you have 8 stations, right? Here, it's 10 kilometers or 12 kilometers sometimes. And if it's a steep uphill or downhill, that can be 2 hours or 2.5 hours, depending on how strong you're going. So I didn't pay attention to fueling and I bonked. And I realized that much later that I was hungry, not just weak. I was hungry and my body was like, I don't have the energy. So those were kind of learnings. It was more on how I do the uphills, technical sections, fueling itself.
And mental aspects.
Mentally, yeah.
So what did you do to kind of address each of those areas?
I would carry like 5 kgs of weight in my hydration vest and do some training at Nandi, up hills. So Nandi stairs is accessible to everyone. Not many people know of it. But other than the road route, there is another staircase route, which is just 1.5 kilometers.
Near the village.
Yes. So Sultanpet village, you can enter, there's a parking place, and then the staircase climb starts there. It's just 1.4 kilometers in distance and 350 meters of elevation.
Nice. Yeah.
So within that short span, there's quite a lot of elevation.
Right.
So it was, I've been very lucky. Since my last year, I met this enthusiastic group called Trail Bliss, who used to do trail events and just met up, and then they said, let's form a group, and then people started getting added. So about 40-50 really amazing trail runners. I got introduced to them, and then that's when I did my first Nandi stairs along with them.
Nice.
I also didn't have a clue that Nandi you can do that. So I went with them and we did, I think, 2 loops of Nandi, which was just 700 meters of elevation. Usually people go there for a hike, leisurely, you go up and then spend some time. So about 2.5 hours is what they take. General public.
Right.
As runners, we go there in 2.5 hours. We've done 2 loops and we are back.
Right.
And people who are climbing up and down, they're like, madam, this is your second time. You're going up again. So that's where my introduction happened. And, as a girl, it's not easy to train for trail running because first thing, access. Where do you go and train for it? Except for Lal Bagh has a little bit of trail, which is about 5 kilometers. Cubbon, if you really get creative, maybe about 4 kilometers inside Cubbon. Apart from that, you'll have to go quite far. Like Avlahalli has some trail, all of it. But as a lone runner, for you to go on any other hiking routes also, the first question is safety.
Yeah.
So if you're doing specifically on a weekday, there will be no hikers as well. So having a group which with the like-minded people really helps for you to get out there.
True.
So I would just go park my vehicle somewhere in Jainagar and then hop onto one of their cars, and then we would go do that training and come back. And then we did multiple hiking routes like that, Skandagiri, Devarayan Durga, and all of this as training for events. So that's how we began.
Right.
And then it was more about fueling. I started carrying everything. I would be well stocked even for like 24 hours, even if I didn't eat anything. So I would have like some gels just as backup because I don't prefer to have gels during training. But energy bars, dry fruits, you have some banana. And then I've been there so many times that there's a temple on the way at the staircase, and the pujar of that temple knows me well now, and he offers me banana also when I'm training.
Nice.
So learning and understanding what works for you in terms of fuel, that is the thing that I did during training. So combination of things. Okay, cashew and this one works really well. Rice cakes with peanut butter. I would just make that as a sandwich, put it in a Ziploc, carry along with me. So that was the fueling was taken care. Then I realized, oh, this doesn't give me enough fuel. I was able to do it stronger, not bonked. Next day I was better recovered. So you understand that, oh, it was the fuel which really worked.
Right.
And also what you have after. Some recovery mix and things like that,
Right.
which I hadn't paid so much attention to. And I'd always dismissed that as, oh, too much chemicals. I don't want to be putting all that. Natural is good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a complete rewiring of how I used to train, coming from road and track to trail running. So, being self-sufficient, I think I would say it was a blessing that I was never afraid to be training alone. I've always done that in the past. So on the trails, I've never felt that kind of fear that, oh, the fear is mostly for people about animals. It can be snakes, it can be insects. But I feel we are venturing into their environment, right? And they're more afraid of us than we are of them. So if you're going by your way, and then even if there is a snake, I've had multiple times I have seen snakes pass by as well. But if you don't do anything and don't make crazy noises or jump around, they just pass by.
Right.
So that is one thing. And I could see how I was able to improve on all those areas that needed help. And then I signed up for an event.
The third one,
3
the
months
mental
later.
aspect. What did you do there?
Oh, and on days that I felt that uphills I'm going to be much slower, I put a time and said that, okay, 40 minutes is what you take usually, right? I'll have to do this in 35. So this is after 4 loops. Not 1 or 2. Like I've done 10 loops of Nandi alone.
Wow.
Taken a train from Cantonment in the morning, reached there by 7:30, run from the station to the start, and then started off, did 10 loops, so 3,500 meters of elevation,
Wow.
and carried all the food. There's nothing available as such except for his gracious some bananas if I get sometimes. But otherwise, I realized that when the mind says, oh no, it's too hard, I'm tired, legs are fatigued now. You've done 8 loops. Imagine each loop is like 3 kilometers. Like you go up and come down. One loop is 350 meters of climb and 3 kilometers. So it's about 30 kilometers. So 8 loops in, your body is, the mind is giving all sorts of reasons to say, done, 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 stop. Let's go back home.
Yeah.
So I would just say, okay, you did the last one in 30 minutes. Let's try for 35 minutes. Or, it just blows my mind how the last loop I was able to do the fastest of all.
Yeah.
So it's always, that's how you see in marathons, people who are just absolutely struggling, maybe from 35 to 40 kilometer. They are just broken. You see them even on the course. But the last 1 kilometer, they're sprinting.
Right.
Many times. Because our mind is holding us back, knowing that how much effort is left.
Right.
right? And as soon as you know the finish line is close and you see 1 kilometer to go, you're like, just a kilometer, let's get it done. Right? What more can happen after this?
Yeah.
So if we can just go and find a way to unlock that, right, in the mind, amazing things can happen. And each time I go and do such efforts solo, I come back and I'm like, even at evening times, I'm sitting and explaining, and my husband is like, I'm tired. Okay. I'm like, what happened today? So it's really mind-boggling how our mind works.
Right.
Right. So mental training was that whenever you are unable to push yourself on an effort, when you know that everything is going fine, it's just the mind coming up with excuses for you to stop. I'm like, think about it. 10 loops, you've never done it.
Yeah.
This will be the most amazing training. I think I had signed up for Buddha Trails, which happens at Sandakphu. It's that whole Sandakphu route of 65 kilometers.
Wow.
So I think 10 days before the event, I went and did this. And I had told myself, okay, see if you can do this, that uphill will be easier.
Where is this?
West Bengal, near Darjeeling.
Okay.
So Sandakphu is a very popular hiking route from where you can see the 4 highest mountains of the world. Everest is also visible on the route. So that was the event I was training for.
Right.
So it really helped for me to know this is what it will help you.
Right.
This is not just a training, right? You know, in the first 12 kilometers, it's all uphill. You just start from the village and then it's all uphill. Then it's a ridge and all of it. So I knew part of the course. So it was easy for me to tell my mind, see, if you are finding it hard here, there it'll be slightly easier.
Right.
Because you know you've done it in training.
Yeah.
So I was able to convince my mind and say, let's do it. And once you accomplish something that you believed is not possible, no, I don't think there's any feeling that can match it.
Right.
Maybe with cycling, certain kind of paces or power that you can generate on most tired legs, you go out and surprise yourself and you're like, really, I did that?
Yeah.
It just puts us into a wonder state. So that's how the training happened. And each event gave me the confidence. That event went well. I was able to do it in how I wanted to. And I think, I would like to mention this. So trail running has this ITRA, which is International Trail Runners Association, which awards certain points. So that's how world ranking works. So you are ranked against the terrain and also the distance and elevation.
Right.
So they have an algorithm. So if it's this distance, it falls under this category depending on the elevation. And against 1,000, depending on your finish time, you get points.
Right.
Okay. So when the men finished, who were from Sandakphu itself, locals, they'd finished it in, I think, faster than 50% of the time that I took. I think mine was around 12 hours something. I don't remember the exact. 12 hours something.
Right.
They'd done it in 6 hours odd. Men. And I was the one who'd finished first in women.
Right.
Okay. If you look at it, I should have been elated by, this is a good performance, right? I was happy, but I knew a lot more is possible because you are still looking for how you can improve things and work on. It's not about being able to better your time. For me, it's about how strong can I do something.
Right.
Timing is not really a metric that I keep chasing. It's more about how strong I want to feel. I train with Invictus Performance Lab for my strength and conditioning. I done that until July of 2022 and then took a 2-year break. Went back to them now about 2 months ago and I've restarted training. So when I am able to run up hills, it gives me an amazing feeling. You know that your body has gained that kind of strength, right? So that has been my goal. When I went back to them and I told them I have certain trail events that I am targeting, I would like to train, but I want to run uphill. That's my goal. So what time I finish a certain event in is irrespective for me. That is something that I keep envisioning. There's a steep uphill. In Pune, I'd done a couple of events after that particular DNF as well. And those uphills, I still only power hike. But I've seen guys who run it.
Oh.
Right? So I would like to do that someday. That's what keeps driving me forward and allows me to put in the training. So Sandakphu, after that event happened and then the points were allotted, the organizers, the race director, he contacted me and he said, he's a good friend of mine, Vishwas. And he said, this is what was awarded to the guy who finished first. And as the girl who finished first, there's no gender disparity in ITRA, okay? It's just finish times. It doesn't matter. So basically, they're trying to say that on a global scale, if this is the distance and elevation, this is a point. So this is where you rank.
Yeah.
Correct? So he said that I'm happy you came, you finished, because the number of women participating in trail running is very less in India. It's a handful.
Yeah.
So there was a runner who commented at one of the events that I did in Pune. I was the only girl in the 75-kilometer category. Okay, at one of the aid station, he was seated and he had called it a day because things were not going all right. And I was returning back. It was an out and back route. So 32.5 and you come back. He met me there and he's like, amazing, madam, you're really doing well. Podium today. We're all chasing this podium term and be able to identify as one of the top finishers. But I feel, at least as a girl, I feel that I would like to close that gap with the men rather than try and do the podiums. Because as a single woman, even if I finish, I would be on the podium, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that really is not giving me that much of happiness just to finish. Then I feel that we are limiting our own capability just by thinking I'm the only one. Even if I slow down, even if I take 1 hour additional and finish within the cutoff time, I'm still the winner. Right? But what if I still think that, no, I am just competing as a runner, not as a girl. And just go there and see what I can do. That can really unlock much more that I can do, right?
Definitely. Because like you said, when you look at that, you're the only one. Who are you competing against?
Yeah.
You are competing against yourself.
Exactly.
Right? So how much can I improve? How, like you said, how strong can I finish?
Yes.
Right? That is what you have to aim for, right? So, you were saying your friend called and said these points. What were the
So
things?
he told me, this is what the points of the men is, the guy who finished first and yours. And he said, I would like you to reduce that gap the next time you come here.
Right.
That was very inspiring for me. As against a runner who's looking at it from podium perspective, and then there's a person who's telling you that, see, a lot more is possible. Don't settle for just a podium. Find your potential.
Yeah.
Right?
That is beautiful, right? That's where there are no limits. That way, the no limits that you put on yourself. You are unlocking those limits and unlocking much more than what you are doing right now, right? Yeah.
As this whole feminist, anti-feminist thing and gender equality, opportunities and all of this, I think sometimes we also forget that it's not about just having equal opportunity for men and women, more about how can we get more women to come and participate and do this. That is something I would really love to see, and I'm trying to do my bit to work on that and help more women to come on.
What do you think can help get more women, into sport that way?
Trail running as such itself, as I said, first thing is training access. the kind of terrain that you can train on. You'll probably always have to depend on somebody else. But initially, even if you, like, I had help. I had this trail bliss group of people, like 10 of them, we would go together and train. Initially, it helps to have a group, but you can't always rely on somebody else
Right.
to help you out in training. Like, I have my goals and they're all full-time job goers. And I'm someone who has the luxury of training any time of the day because I don't have a full-time job and I pursue my own coaching and I can do it at whatever time I want. So I feel that some restrictions with safety, trail access, all of that is keeping women from getting onto trails and more so into longer ultra trails where you have to be alone at night.
Right.
Most times, many trail events suggest that please find a male runner to run along with. For women, at the start line, people are telling that.
Yeah.
Right? It also comes from a point of concern. As a race organizer,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but
you would want
yeah.
that. But as a runner, I feel, what if I'm able to run stronger than the male runner that I find? Right? It has happened to me a couple of times where whoever tagged along with me was not strong enough. And towards the end, I am like bubbling with energy. I'm like, let's go finish. And that person is struggling. So initially, it would be to find a group that you can go out with, build that confidence, then get out on your own. Find some trails which are safe. Like I said, Nandi is a very safe trail. Even on weekdays, most of my training is on weekdays, on Tuesday or Wednesday when I go. And morning till 3 or 4 o'clock, I do that and come back. Carry some kind of personal safety device. So I carry a small knife or something like that, just for your safety.
Right.
Right. And if you're someone who's still very worried that, oh, if something happens, yeah, maybe think about ways in which you can equip yourself with some kind of self-defense training or something. If you feel that, oh, I would like to explore, but I fear if something happens, then we will have to see, there is always problem and a solution.
Right.
We'll have to first write down the problem. The thing is identifying the problem itself. If I'm just sitting there and wishing, oh, you're so inspiring, but I can't do trail running. What if I want to, but these are the problems that I face? If these are the problems, what can help me solve this problem? I don't have anyone to train with. Okay, find a group around in your area. I feel very scared in the night. It is very easy for you to find people to train with and also run events with. If you build a good rapport and you have a good friendship, you can say, let's just sign up for an event, irrespective of how each of us feel. We will help each other and finish together.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's a great point you said about writing down, putting the perceived or real problems that the obstacles that are in your path down so that you can tackle them, right? Unless you put them down, this is not clear. It's all hazy in your mind, and they might appear much bigger than what they really are. And in that case, you can't really tackle them, right? So that's a great point. That is
Also,
that can come in handy in many ways. Yeah.
bigger than that will be asking for help.
Hmm.
Most of us fear asking somebody, hey, I need help. I'm not able to do this. I would like to, but I don't. See, in our life, we have a circle of friends. We have maybe a community. We know certain people. I'm a beginner runner. I would like to do something, but I still fear. I'm inspired by somebody. I'm motivated and all of it. But I don't take that step and go and ask for help. Asking for help is the biggest learning that I've had, and through which I've found my biggest mentors in my life. One at Invictus, Rohan Mathiv, who's my biggest mentor, and also Anand Atkoli from Malnad Ultra. Whenever I'm confused or I want to make a better decision, I go and speak to them and I tell them that, I would like to choose. Maybe it can be with running or itself in life. I discuss with them. although my husband is a very good friend of mine and I talk to him about everything, sometimes you want a totally different perspective. And from somebody who has an unbiased opinion
Right.
and who's not involved in your life, right? So that is very important, asking for help and being open to the fact that I can ask for help and it doesn't make me small. Right.
Yeah.
So when you ask, so many times I've asked some of my friends who are fast runners. Sometimes when I felt that I would like to work on my speed and I really need help with intervals, I can't do hill repeats. I tell them, hey, I need help. Can you run with me on one of these days? I would like your help with this. So and they come and run. It's quite easy.
Yeah.
But many times we hold ourselves back and we keep thinking that, oh, it's a big problem. When we discuss, as you said, and when we are able to write down and ask for help, things become much more simpler. We complicate it unnecessarily in our own head,
Right.
like life. But I think it also comes with experience. As they say, knowledge from experience is much superior than what you read, right?
Yeah.
From a book, theory is different from practical.
Right. Nice. So you started addressing all these three areas and started doing that. You know, started doing these events well, right? So how? Let's talk about that. Southeast Asian run, the championship run, trail championships, is it?
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. What is the criteria to get into it, and how did the preparation go, and how did the event itself go?
So it's the Asia Pacific Trail Championship, which happened in South Korea. I got to know about it in July. So it was October 26th of this month, last month. I heard about it in, I think, June, start of June sometime. I had done a couple of, one international event by then. I had gone to Malaysia and did a 100K trail run there.
Oh, nice.
This was in May.
Right, that Malaysian 100K. Okay,
Yeah.
how was that like?
It was a 100-kilometer run. The event started at 10 a.m.
Okay.
And Malaysian heat and humidity. It was in a place called close to Kuching. So it's Sarawak. It's not the mainland of Kuala Lumpur. From there, we had to take a flight and I reached there. I had gone there alone. Nobody from India. I was the only one. It was the first time I was traveling to Malaysia as well. We started, it was supposed to start at 10. And because of some delays, 10:30 is when they scheduled to start it. I've reached there at 9 o'clock. I'd stayed at a homestay close by. Within half an hour, my whole t-shirt is wet. Before the start of the
Humid.
event.
Yeah.
That's how humid it was. But that event showed me that I can be really self-reliant at night without any worry. And a lot of our fears lie only in our head.
Yeah.
I saw 2 snakes there on the route in the dark. And I think more than anything, the most empowering thing for me was it was 33 kilometers of one loop. From the start, you go, do 33, come back to the start again. And then 34 kilometers, 2 loops. Yeah, 32 and then 34 each. So you had to repeat that same loop twice. So I had done 33 and then the 34. So I was done with that. 65 kilometer is done. I've come back to the start line and it was 6:30 or 7 o'clock. Yeah, it was dark already. With my experience of running in India, anyone who's organizing would always be concerned if a girl is going alone, right?
Yeah.
They would always even if not directly question, they would say, is there anybody else running with you? Are you running alone? Kind of a question would come up. But at the aid station, I came back, I put on a layer and then got some fuel, again, restuffed it into my vest. And I was heading out. And they said, hey, good luck. We'll see you at the finish line. They had no qualms, no questions that you are the only girl who's going. Because there was nobody in front of me or behind me. And nobody had left within the past 10 minutes as well. So I said, see, they have the confidence that this girl can go and handle herself in the dark. So that I said, okay, if they believe, then I should also believe in myself, correct?
Right.
It's a new place. People don't speak the language. In the aid stations also, nobody spoke English. But it was easy, aid stations, you just go, you want water from there. Because I'm a vegetarian, there was some soup and all of it, which was non-veg, which I wouldn't have. So it was only water that I was having at aid station. And I would just fill and smile to them and say, haha, okay, thank you, and then go.
And you were carrying everything that you need for eating.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything from ready to eat food. So nothing I had from there itself,
Yeah.
except for a couple of vegan places which I found where I could eat. So I carried everything. So it was very enlightening, or rather
Empowering
for me to know that, okay, so I had done another event at Pune alone, 75-kilometer one, which was also in the dark. But I think it's also because I had done a hike through that route previously with a few friends from Trail Bliss. I knew that route. I knew what was going to come after, and it was a route where I was going out and back. So there was no surprise. And this is like totally new place, new country, nobody speaks the language, all of this. Even with all that uncertainty, I felt very safe. So after that event, I was like, I can go run anywhere, even in the dark and alone. I have to just believe more in myself. That's how that happened. So when in June I got to know about it from the Indian Ultra team that there's a trail championship happening. First, as soon as I got to know, I said, oh no, I'm not going. I'm not capable of putting myself in a championship kind of position, because I'm a very practical person, and knowing how I had done events and all of it, I still felt, oh, I don't have the capability to compete at that kind of level. I'm still just starting and I would like more time to get there. So I said no. And then the Indian Ultra team manager, Santosh Padmanabhan, who's also the coach of Runners High, we had a couple of long discussions, and he said, no, just think about it from a perspective that it'll give you more experience. You've done an event, and I had signed up for an event at Bali, which was 80-kilometer, which I was scheduled to leave in another 1 month. I was training for it. So he said, just apply. So AFI, the Athletic Federation of India, sets a criteria that you need these many points on ITRA for you to be eligible for it.
Right.
So he said, just apply. Don't think about it. If you get selected, then we'll see. You just apply. So after a lot of contemplation, I applied. I went to Bali. I did that event. And that was also like amazing experience, culturally also you are meeting new people. Their ways of life is quite different and much more happy people in Bali. That's what I saw all throughout. So I came back much more confident, and I said, okay, maybe I can do it if I get selected. And just before I went, they announced the selection. And I had been selected to do the 80-kilometer long trail.
Okay.
So there are 3 categories in the championship. One was the U23, which is 15-kilometer race, which is under 23. And then short trail, which is 40 kilometers. And then long trail, which is 80 kilometer.
Okay.
So I was the only girl who had been selected for the 80-kilometer. Matter of joy. But then I was like, yeah, I would like to see more women also along with me.
Yeah.
You're representing the country, right? But unfortunately, the numbers are also small. Another reason is it's athlete sponsored. You don't get money from anybody.
Right.
You book your ticket, all of it. They'll help you with getting an invite letter from the organizing team and all of it, but no other financial aid. So the number of, although we have a lot of talent, when it comes to financially supporting your dreams, no, it's still hard for many people. We have amazingly talented Northeast runners who are also selected for the team, but their visa didn't come through. And finally, out of the 11 members who were selected, it was only 5 of us who could make it, who reached there. So yeah, after that selection, I had another 1.5 months to prepare for it. I think more than physical, it was more mentally. I had to come to terms with the fact that I'll be running with the best runners in Asia Pacific. New Zealand, Australia, and all the Southeast Asian countries were there. I mean, I was very overwhelmed more than anything being there, but it was totally inspiring for me of what more is possible. What if you put in more disciplined work and work hard at your goals? I think someday we will get to a point where we are also compete ready.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Who were the other runners, and how did the race itself go for you?
So in the short trail, we had 3 people. One was Nupur. She was my roommate as well, and somebody I really look up to. Very strong marathoner. She is the fastest amateur marathoner of our country. She's done 3 hours, I think 2 minutes or 3 minutes is her best marathon time, and a great trail
On
runner.
trail?
On trail, also she has amazing fast times. And even she's like competing with the men. As I said,
Yeah.
that's where we should be, not just looking at finish times, right? So amazing human as well. She was my roommate. She competed in the 40-kilometer trail, and along with her it was Sandeep Kumar, who's from Gujarat, who's also a coach, and Aman, a very young strong guy from Dehradun, who was part of that 40. And along with me there was Kyron D'Souza, who is the most well-known trail runner of our country, who's done amazing things. Back in 2016, I met him for the first time. Awe-inspired. We met at this Yogistan Cafe to celebrate his Partathlon event, the 256-kilometer run at Greece, which happens.
Yeah.
He was the first Indian to do that. So for me, it was very inspiring, first of all, within our country itself, to be there with such runners, and then to see much more stronger and competitive runners. There were runners who had finished in the top 10, and also a couple of women who had finished, I think, in one of the CCC categories in UTMB on the top. So there was a girl who also finished, I think, here first at our 80-kilometer trail. So before we started, I had no nerves. We'd reached there 3 days before the event on Monday itself, and then went and did a first 5-kilometer recce. Nupur and I went together, and we saw, okay, this is how it is and all of it. The trail itself is a very well-known hike in South Korea called the Ulju 9 Peaks. It's 9 peaks across. The maximum elevation that it goes to, the altitude itself is, I think, 2,100.
Okay.
But in our 80-kilometer trail itself, we had 1,800, which was the highest point that we would reach.
Right.
So 80 kilometers, we had 18.5 hours cut off and 4,800 meters of elevation overall.
Wow.
So about 5.5 peaks is what we had to traverse.
Right.
40 kilometer was 41 in distance, and then 2,700 meters. Short trail, or the 3 of them did amazingly well, which happened on the previous day. Friday, short trail happened. So looking at them finish at like really fast paces. Although when you say fast, they would be like, oh, what? We were not fast. But Nupur finished, I think, 12th or 13th overall in women.
Nice.
So which was a great standing for first time. I think this is the first time there was... I think Akriti was the only girl who had represented India at a trail championship before.
Okay.
And it was a very gruesome course, Austria, I think. And unfortunately, we didn't have the result that we wanted, and she couldn't finish that. But this time, so seeing Nupur finish it so strong was very motivating for me, and saying that, okay, I will be able to do it in that kind of time. So before I went to the championship, one of the things that made me think was the cutoff time, because I had done 80 kilometers at Bali, the same distance of 80 kilometers, and the elevation was about 4,500. Little
similar.
less than this, but pretty similar.
Right.
But hotter condition. But okay, we'll give the benefit of doubt to the weather. Here it was chilly weather, cool weather. In 17 hours, 20 minutes something. And here earlier the cutoff was 15 hours. 3 hours, 3 weeks before the event, they made it 18.5.
Okay.
So while my training was ongoing, I kept thinking 15 hours is really hard cutoff for that kind of distance because I've never done that before. So I had my apprehensions. That's why, to even apply, I was very contemplative and took me a lot of time to come to terms to apply. But as I did the training, I gained that confidence. So Nandi became my every week, like a pilgrimage. I'm going there every week, going up till the top. So that 350-meter staircase alone became 500-meter loops.
Okay.
So if you go till the top, where everybody comes and you have that view, it's 500 meters, and one loop will be 6 kilometers. So a week before I left, I did 30 kilometers there, 5 loops of that. So 2,500 meters of elevation. So my strategy was any uphill that I get, I'm going to equate it to Nandi. So, GPX file is loaded on your Garmin, and then it's going to give you that, okay, it's 2 kilometers of uphill and this much is the elevation, right? As soon as I see it, I'm like, okay, 400 meters and 1.5 kilometers. All right, one loop of Nandi. Let's go.
Yeah.
That was my strategy. And yeah, I finished it pretty strong and much better than what I had thought I could do. So I was very happy and content with that effort. But I know a lot more is possible. So I'm very excited to see what more I can do. So
Yeah, definitely. The possibilities are infinite, right?
it's never ending.
It's never ending.
You always want to do better.
Right.
But yeah, as I said, whatever it is, my end goal is to run those uphills. That will always be there.
Yeah.
On trail, if I can run those uphills. So even at Buddha, as I said, the time, it was less than half of my time. So those guys are like literally running those all the uphills and downhills. Even here, the 41-kilometer run, the short trail, the first guy who finished, he did it in 3 hours, 35 minutes.
Wow.
With that kind of elevation. And we had a lot
trail.
of staircase on this route. Staircase, lot of technical terrain, lot of slippery kind of steep descents, steep ascents, and all of that in 3.5 hours.
Amazing. Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I don't care about the time, but I would really like to run uphill. That's my goal. That's it. So.
Yeah. Hey, if you are strong enough to run up hills and all that, then your times will be taken care of by themselves.
Exactly, right? So instead of fixating yourself on a time, I'm only fixating myself on the process.
On the process of getting stronger.
Yeah. So each time I go to Nandi now, even last week when I was there and I was able to do few uphills, I was just thrilled. I came back to my strength coach and I was telling this was really good. And yesterday, even at the event that I did at Javadu, the 30-kilometer, I ran quite a few uphills. And that felt like a win to me. The time or where I finished overall, that really I'm not even bothered. But it's been a win for me because I was able to achieve what I wanted to.
Yeah.
So,
Getting stronger and, the process.
yes.
Trusting in the process of and focusing on the process of getting stronger is what will, that can keep on going. And when you are not fixating on the result and are not tying your happiness to the result, right? It's always a win.
Also earlier, when I was training for the 24-hour championship or things where I wanted to do certain mileage, I had certain goals in mind and all of it. When I look back, even my training, there was some stress involved. Even though I didn't acknowledge it, I would push myself into training, be disciplined. You have to do this kind of work if you have to do that goal kind of a thing. But because, as I said, that trying too hard. Now it's all flowing naturally and I'm so excited to go out for every run and it doesn't feel like an effort. Even though I'm training much more intensively, my mileage has gone up, and all of it, I'm sleeping better. So, just how you feel, that dopamine after each effort, not about times you hit or whether you were able to do what you wanted to when you set out, but more from what you're able to achieve on a day to day basis. So that I can clearly see how different it is from how I used to train and how it is now. The results are proof to how things are going. But more than that, I am proof to how things are going because I feel so happy about life in general, not just running. Running is a part of it, yes. But in general, in life, I feel very happy with everything that I have. And I feel very grateful for all the opportunities that are coming my way. So,
Do you think the key difference is like the shift from the thought process of I have to do this to I get to do this?
yes, totally. That, and also, so many people have been the backbone for my dreams. Kind of dreaming, they want me to do it because they believe I can. When somebody else believes you can, right? It can be a stressor also, where you feel that, oh, if I don't comply, if I don't meet their expectation, then what if I lose that kind of trust they have in me? But it can also work in a motivational way for you to know that so many people believe in you and believe that, yeah, you have some gift, that you're kind of living the dream that they wish they could, and they're supporting in a way that you can take that small step now, right? I think last time also on our podcast I had quoted Manoj Bhatt. He is one of the legends of Bangalore. So I had posted about this Asia Championship on my social media, and he'd commented in a way that said that it's a small step for you, but it's a giant leap for Indian running. You know, congratulations, well done, and great things, all that is good. But when it comes in that form, no, you feel very, that, yeah, people are watching, but it's not a pressure. They know that you're doing everything in your ability to get there, and it is helping the whole community, for women also to take it as an example.
Yeah.
So that feels very nice that, yeah, I have been given this privilege, right? It's also about the right time, right opportunity. So there was, this came up, and then I was contemplating whether to apply or not. A lot of things had to fall in place for me to be there. A lot of people helped me to be there. So I feel very grateful for everything, and I feel, yeah, so like the world is my oyster. I can go and do it.
Yeah,
Kind of a feeling.
that's a beautiful feeling. I'm so glad to see that you are in this happy space and that you are enjoying this process. I wish you all the very best in what lies ahead. And are there any things that are in the horizon right now, or what?
Well, I have some plans, but I think I would like to keep them with myself for now. And
Sure. And we can talk about it when when they transpire
yes,
after a few
maybe
months.
another opportunity for me to come back and talk about it.
You are welcome anytime. It's only, the only thing is you are busy and it's a long hike to get here and record. So that's the only thing that's keeping you from coming almost every week if you want. But yeah.
I wish if it was Nandi, then maybe I would be here every week. So if you can think about shifting this to Nandi, we can have that conversation. But yeah, I really hope that I can come back when it's close to 500. I wish you that.
Let's
luck,
not
and I
wait
hope.
till 500. I'm sure I'll keep going, but let's make it
Nah,
happen
just
before.
joking.
Hmm.
I'm glad to share the story, and for people to know that it's not always the happy moments.
Yeah.
There will be struggles. Everyone is going through it, and even through all of it, uh, we had this. I think I would like to close with this. We had this conversation that if you hit a slump, you've been training, your fitness is good, but then you hit a slump, maybe work pressure goes up for a couple of weeks, you're not able to sleep properly and all of it, and then you see that dip in your the way you're able to run or how you're feeling and all of it. And how do you approach that, right? We spoke about it. How did you get back, kind of a thing. But we had many views on what is the right way of doing it. There is no right way at all. It is your way, right? Maybe for me, I am someone who is not, who struggles with having a drive. And I want somebody to tell me that this is your plan. Okay, 2 months you were like completely off from training, but now this is your plan. Just follow it. I know what I'm doing. You trust me and just follow my plan. That works for some of them. Maybe it does. Maybe for some, it's about just going for walks for 1 month, 2 months, whatever. Maybe for some, it is just to take a break. It's okay. So that's what I did. I felt that that was the approach that works for me. And rather than pushing myself, because I'm very self driven, I told myself it's okay. Just go out, just do the run, just do the strength training or something like that. So it need not be anybody else's way for you to get back to life. It can be your training, it can be to whatever you enjoy doing, it can be any passion, but find your way, and that will be the way that will work for you.
Beautiful. That's a great note to end on. Thank you, Ashmi. Thank you for taking the time and sharing these experiences with the Working Athlete podcast.
Pleasure, Venki. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was my conversation with Ashwini. I hope you enjoyed that. If you are enjoying these podcasts and are finding them useful, please consider supporting the podcast by subscribing to it on YouTube as well as on your favorite podcasting app. It really helps. Thanks again for continuous support. See you next week with another guest.